You do know.
I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know.
Let me ask you another thing.
Let's waste a whole show. You start off with white supremacy. I denounce it. You start off with something else. Let's go. Keep asking me these questions.
I thought that was a great way to start the review of this town hall because, was Savannah Guthrie just an interrupting twat for the entirety. I timed it out for the first 19 minutes and 30 seconds. There was nothing but back and forth between the two. And by the way, the program was only an hour long and it had 2 commercial breaks in it. So we got, for the first entire block, Savannah Guthrie just absolutely trying to steamroll Trump, but he absolutely held his own. And I've got a bunch of clips from the first half, and then we got a few of the more important town hall questions from it as well. And we're going to do a little bit of fact checking in between here. And first and foremost, we have NBC's top Karen asking President Trump about what they believe was the super spreader event, and has a lot of pressing concerns regarding the Amy Coney Barrett meeting that happened several days before the first presidential debate, where you absolutely caught it there. So we'll throw to her question.
My question to you is, at this point in the pandemic, knowing what we know, shouldn't you have known better? Shouldn't the White House know better than to hold an event like that?
Shouldn't you have known better? Shouldn't you have known better? Ugh. Could you fucking imagine waking up every morning having to listen to that fucking meandering bitch? Oh, are you gonna have all of those sausages? Shouldn't you know better? Didn't you, doctor? Ugh, you just want to strangle her through the television. And that wasn't even her most egregious part, but we will eventually get to that. Yeah, so President Trump artfully addressed that hideous question by saying, yeah, I don't mind. And, well, here's his response right here. Don't have to take my word for it.
Well, they do a lot of testing in the White House. They test everybody, including me, but they test everybody. And something happened. But as far as the mask is concerned, I'm good with masks. I'm okay with masks. I tell people wear masks. But just the other day, they came out with a statement that 85% of the people that wear masks catch it.
85% of COVID mask patients report always or often wearing a mask. Yeah, of course, because you guys know that wearing a mask is supposed to keep others safe, and it isn't supposed to be the big shield for you. Particles are supposed to be stopped by these masks when they are clean and disinfected. Now, if you guys out there are wearing a masks where you have to, or if you do by choice, whatever, how often do you reuse the disposable masks? Or how often do you clean your cotton masks that apparently protect you from the plague? Now, you're supposed to be rewashing these, or washing them rather, in a hospital grade, industrial grade washing machine and dryer. These reach temperatures of 180, 190 degrees Fahrenheit, where there is no chance of any lingering bacteria being fermented and contained within. But no, you're supposed to just have access to that, and yeah, just you know, keep wearing masks. Don't question, because next week it could change, and who fucking remembers? Because constantly live in fear, and don't worry, a vaccine's never coming out, right? So we're continuing to beat the dead horse here, and oh so chipper Savannah Guthrie has to ask about the very next day, the Wednesday before President Trump tested positive for coronavirus. They had a Gold Star family event where you meet with the families of fallen military veterans, and of course that could also have been a likely place for them to catch it, but I don't know, man. I don't think that is where it happened, but we'll let President Trump tee it up here.
I could have chosen not to talk to him or to keep everybody away. And you know what? And I don't think that's probably where it was caught, but maybe it was.
I was going to say, you bring it up. You brought it up yourself. I mean, are you trying to suggest that? Do you believe a grieving military family gave you COVID?
Here's my theory. So between that Gold Star event and then the Amy Coney Barrett event that happened on that previous Saturday, we had the debate as well, and 11 people who worked on the presidential debate were diagnosed with COVID-19. Not quite as many as the people that were at the ACB event, but there was also a substantial difference between the attendance in the two here, and if 11 people had COVID diagnosis based on working at the debate itself, it would stand to reason that maybe that's another place, but I don't know, I'm not a doctor, nor do I care that much, because everybody's fine after this. Nobody fucking died from the from any of these events. Fat ass Chris Christie got awfully sick and he was hospitalized because of it. But yeah, outside of a couple of new ass marks in a hospital bed, I don't think anybody's really put out of work. And then, of course, in the clip that I started everything off with, you asked me about white supremacy. I pulled that from a little bit later in because I thought it was a nice intro clip. So sue me. We're not going in sequential order this time, but we're diving right into the white supremacy stuff. So
you were asked point blank to denounce white supremacy. In the moment, you didn't. You asked some follow-up questions. Who specifically?
I have the transcript from the first debate pulled up. So, Chris Wallace, but are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia group and to say that they need to stand down and not to add violence in the number of these cities as we saw in Kenosha and as we've seen in Portland? President Donald J. Trump, this is crucial. Sure, I will do that. Wow, that took a lot of hard work. I'm going to go hand in my resume to NBC. I'll be right back, guys. Just kidding. Why the fuck would I take a pay cut to do that? Anyways, so you know what we'll do? We'll just let President Trump answer for himself, and he gets a little spicy here, and he mentions a certain more prominent group than white supremacy going around right now, smashing up and destroying shit, but we'll let the man speak for himself.
A couple of days later, on a different show, you denounced white supremacy.
No, you
My question to you is,
you've done this to me and everybody.
Why does it seem like
I denounce white supremacy, okay?
You did 2 days later.
I denounced white supremacy for years, but you always do it. You always start off with a question. You didn't ask Joe Biden whether or not he denounces Antifa. I watched him on the same basic show with Lester Holt, and he was asking questions like Biden was a child.
So this is a little bit of a dodge.
Are you listening? I denounce white supremacy.
Okay.
What's your next question?
Do you feel, it feels sometimes you're hesitant to do so, like you wait a beat.
Here we go again. Every time, in fact, my people came, I'm sure they'll ask you the white supremacy question. I denounce white supremacy.
Okay.
And frankly, you want to know something? I denounce Antifa, and I denounce these people on the left that are burning down our cities that are run by Democrats who don't know what they're doing.
It feels like you're being hesitant. Are you being hesitant? Oh my God. Oh, when I was watching that live, I just wanted to sit her down with a nice cup of tea. Definitely. But of course, who's actually committing all the violence in every fucking city? It's Antifa, of course. It's these Black Lives Matter coalitions between the two that are destroying everything, not supposed white supremacist groups. And also President Trump has designated the KKK a fucking domestic terrorist group anyways, so how much more does he need to do? And how frequent do you need him to denounce white supremacy because you just want him to speak how you want to and you want him to control all of his terms, just like she was saying, you're kind of hesitant to do that. So now we want to tone police the president? Get the fuck out of here, you. Oh, what a charming lady. Charming lady. And what do we get into right after that? Well, we get into a couple more conspiracy theories, like maybe a conspiracy theory that dropped earlier that day about, I don't know, maybe the son of a elected official who he might be running against, who, I don't know, might be involved in some kind of a scheme. No, we're going to talk about QAnon on national television, something that has the viewership base of a fucking nightly news show. But, of course, yeah, we have to address that right away. So here's the question from Stupid Savannah.
I know nothing about QAnon.
I just told you.
I know very little. You told me, but what you tell me doesn't necessarily make it fact. I hate to say that. I know about Antifa, and I know about the radical left, and I know how violent they are and how vicious they are, and I know how they're burning down cities run by Democrats, not run by Republicans.
Oh, wasn't that nice to hear? That, yeah. Just because he told me doesn't mean you necessarily know what's true. Oh, it's, we don't deserve the man. We don't deserve the man. But of course, are we done with the conspiracy theories? No, of course we aren't. No, we have to... I didn't even know about this one, but apparently there was something about Joe Biden and SEAL Team 6. We'll throw it back to Barney's sister to clear this up for us.
That Joe Biden orchestrated to have SEAL Team 6, the Navy SEAL Team 6, killed to cover up the fake death of bin Laden. Now, why would you send a lie like that to your followers? You retweeted it.
That was a retweet. That was an opinion of somebody, and that was a retweet. I'll put it out there. People can decide for themselves. I don't take a position.
You're not like someone's crazy uncle who can just retweet whatever.
That was a retweet. and I do a lot of retweets. And frankly, because the media is so fake and so corrupt, if I didn't have social media, I don't call it Twitter, I call it social media, I wouldn't be able to get the word out.
Yeah, you see it a lot in a bunch of people's profiles. Retweets do not equal endorsements. And yeah, fucking throw it out there, because at least, you know, you can bat it around in your head. Joe Biden's a lot of things, but I don't think he's sending people in to die necessarily. That one seems a little bit out there, but I'm not going to criticize him for that. But not that long after that, Trump really kind of fucking stepped in it, and I got to drag him for this one because it's still kind of funny. Trump retweets satirical news story about Joe Biden and Twitter. President Donald Trump, who likes to denounce alleged fake news, retweeted a piece of satire Friday about Twitter shutting down over reporting on Joe Biden. Retweeting a link entitled "Twitter shuts down entire network to slow spread of negative Biden news." It's kind of funny because after all of those Hunter Biden emails got out there, the first wave of them, and Twitter had a outage for about 90 minutes, and I don't know if you're just passively paying attention to it. If you don't see the logo, you didn't notice that it was Babylon Bee. Yeah, I don't know. Everything just kind of seemed a little too similar. And if it was Trump on the dial there, or if it was one of his handlers who retweeted that, oh, it's funny what he had to say. So he quote retweeted it. Wow, this has never been done in history. This includes his a really bad interview last night. Why is Twitter doing this? Bringing more attention to Sleepy Joe and Big T. Big T is supposed to be a reference to Big Tech, but hey, if he wants to keep the BT moniker, I don't mind it. A little bit better than Ahmed Johnson in 2000's WCW. There's a reference for you. But it was a fucking joke. And because it's, I think, illegal for the president to remove any of his posts, he's got to wear that one, and yeah, it was kind of funny, so fucking him. And because Savannah Guthrie continues to need the stage, we're still on the portion prior to any questions being taken. We had to answer for the peaceful transfer of power, something that the Democrats still haven't done since 2016 with the repeated impeachment attempts, with all the coups, the Russiagate shit. Trump knocks it out of the park with a couple of things that the American public need to know, so let's throw to that.
Now, that is simply not true. The fact is, either candidate can lose fair and square without ballot fraud. And so will you accept the results of the election?
That's the way I want it to be. But when I see thousands of ballots, right, unsolicited ballots being given out by the millions, and thousands of them are dumped in dumpsters, and when you see ballots with the name Trump, military ballots from our great military, and they're dumped in garbage cans.
That is a handful. We could go all night, which we won't. But we could go all night, one by one, a single case, a single day. You're talking about 150 million votes. Your own FBI director says there is no evidence of widespread fraud.
Well, then he's not doing a very good job. All you have to do is pick up the papers every day. 50,000 in Ohio, the great state of Ohio. 50,000 in another location, I think North Carolina. 500,000 applications in Virginia. No, there's a tremendous problem. But let me just tell you, they talk about the peaceful transfer, right? They spied on my campaign and they got caught, and they spied heavily on my campaign, and they tried to take down a duly elected sitting president. And then they talk about, will you accept a peaceful transfer? And the answer is yes, I will. But I want it to be an honest election, and so does everybody else. When I see thousands of ballots dumped in a garbage can and they happen to have my name on it, I'm not happy about that.
No widespread voter fraud. There's no evidence of that. Trump ballot and trash. Oh my. The Justice Department ordered Pennsylvania election officials to change how it does business after a handful of ballots sent in by members of the military were found in, well, the DOJ didn't say it, but ABC did. 9 ballots were found in the trash, prompting an FBI investigation, the news outlet reported. Oh, it's just because, it's just 9. That doesn't mean that's everything. The left using one of their favorite little tactics. It's a small group of people, but we need to listen to them. It's not everybody. Not all cops are bastards. Just some cops are bastards. But no, in this case, because there's a couple of little things out there, there's just a couple of ballots being thrown away, then that means that it's perfectly acceptable to just go ahead with everything, because we're not going to try to cheat the entire election. Well, There's also a registry out there from the Heritage Foundation detailing every single case of voter interference, and Arizona, a whole bunch in California, Louisiana, New Mexico, Virginia, West Virginia. It goes back into the history logs, and I've also made reference to it and cited the sources in a past few videos about the mail-in city council election in Paterson, New Jersey that had to be completely redone, the FedEx vehicle dumping out trash bags full of ballots, and there are countless other examples. But we've got this website here, the stuff in Pennsylvania, the stuff in Ohio, the stuff in New Jersey, the stuff in California. I don't know how much more widespread this can be. This is from every quadrant of the entire country, so it needs to be more widespread. I also brought up the fact that, yep, Russiagate was all from Hillary Clinton, which shown in the Radcliffe memo to Lindsey Graham. Let's continue on this one, because it's not something that's new. There was actually quite a bit of precedent for this one. Military vote rejection draws broad criticism. Washington. The rejection of more than 1,500 overseas ballots by country election officials in Florida, hundreds of them from military personnel who were expected to side mostly with George W. Bush, has sharply criticized yesterday by veteran organizations, retired officers, and even Democratic lawmakers who said the ballots should be recounted. From November 21st, 2000. Yep, guess what? Bush would have won Florida by a much larger, it wasn't that large of a margin, but he would have won it by a lot more had Al Gore not lobbied to remove several overseas ballots. So, and those ones there were absentee ballots that were properly tracked, not widespread mail-in ballots where you're seeing constant double ballots or old tenant ballots show up at new people's residence. Or there's a couple of famous stories out there of somebody receiving their parents' ballot, and their parent has been deceased for the better part of a decade. It goes without saying, yeah, there's a few instances of the media, the Democrats trying to get rid of Trump, and widespread voter fraud that's been going on for, well, at least we have the proof here, for at least 2 decades now. So I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know. But they eventually did get onto another topic, and we're still on the Savannah Guthrie hour. So they were talking about stimulus, and why hasn't the House been able to come to an agreement with the Senate and with the president? Why is it that they've been bickering back and forth? Why can't they figure out a price tag on what it's going to cost and how it's going to get out to the people? And Trump throws it back in stupid Sunrise's face there. So
you're the big deal maker. How come this is so? You yourself have changed positions.
Did you ever hear of a word called negotiation? We're negotiating, okay?
That clip just makes me smile, so I just wanted to include it in there because, yes, the House is asking for over 2 trillion, trillion, big T, and the House, and the Senate has proposed a 1.8 trillion with a big T, and there's a lot of Democrats on the House floor saying that's a fair deal, but Nancy Pelosi can't hear their negotiation tactics under the hairdryer that she's currently under. So, who the fuck knows? And Wolf Blitzer, well, God love him, tried his hardest to press her on some kind of an information, and we seen how that turned out, and I did a video on that one, and yeah, it was just fun to shit on those guys. So eventually we did get into the finance world, and guess whose finances we were talking about? Of course, we were talking about the uncorroborated New York Times piece about Donald Trump's taxes, because mainstream media has nothing better to talk about. And yeah, Trump was like, no, I owe $400 billion. No, it's not to Russia. No, it's not to China. Do you guys understand that if you, you know, buy a house or have a mortgage, and eventually those payments will be due, you have to pay a mortgage within a certain amount of time, 5, 10, 25 years if you're retarded. And does that mean that you are beholden to foreign interests? No, that means that you're going to be beholden to the bank. So you better make sure that those payments arrive on time. And that's how those taxes work, you fucking dolt. And you only paid $750. No, I have accountants, lots of accountants for that. And that's what he described there, but went into a lot more detail, so I'll just throw to the clip.
It's very routine in many ways, but we're under audit. They like to change the game, change the rules, do everything. You saw what they did with the Tea Party people. You saw what they did with the religious groups.
But to be clear, there is no law or rule that prohibits you from releasing your tax returns.
Except common sense and intelligence and having lawyers that say, because I would love to release them, and as soon as we come to a conclusion, I will release them, and very gladly.
So when he said what they did to the Tea Party, well, guess what? I got the receipts. IRS apologizes for aggressive scrutiny of conservative groups. In a legal settlement that still awaits a federal judge's approval, the IRS expresses its sincerest apology, I'm sure, for mistreatment of conservative organization called Linchpins of Liberty, along with 40 other conservative groups. 40 other conservative groups. We don't even have a proper estimate of how many people were affected by this in their application for tax-exempt status. Obama wielded this like his the velvet fist that he sits on. He specifically targeted conservative groups that were calling him out for his horseshit. That's what they did with the Tea Party in attempts to smear them because they were, you know, just voicing their opinion with what kind of a shitty job he was doing at the time. So, yeah, fuck, he'll hit them right in their pocketbook because, hey, if you can't address them properly, get somebody else to do it for you. And that's what he did in this scenario. So, there's the receipts for it. Everything is going to be linked in the description below. I'd run through each article, but then this video would be about an hour and a half long. So we're still at the recap the previous debate portion of the town hall. Ugh, I know, all of our minds are hurting at this point. And we finally throw to the Supreme Court because, of course, that is a big thing because the confirmation vote is going to be happening within the next couple of weeks. And by all accounts, ACB did great in her confirmation hearings, and there's memes abound, especially the one with the holding up the blank notepad. But of course, because my pussy, we gotta ask about Roe v. Wade and what the fuck would happen about that. So, and also, oh, you know, you only elect or you only appoint Supreme Court justices that you think are going to carry out your own views, even though the Supreme Court was designed to be an apolitical body of the United States government. But Trump has, for my money, probably my favorite answer he's ever given to a question, and we're just going to go ahead and throw to it because I'm in love with it.
I think she'll have to make that decision. I don't think she has any conflict at all. You know, a Supreme Court judge does not have, I mean, they can make their own decision. And they actually have additional power to make that decision. It would be totally up to her. I would think that she would be able to rule either for me or against me. I don't see any conflict whatsoever. We have an election coming up. I think it's the most important election in the history of our country. If for any chance, and it probably won't, and I hope it doesn't ever get to the Supreme Court, but if it did, I would think that she would rule one way or the other. I would think so.
But for you, you think she would rule for you?
I have no idea.
I mean, of course she'll rule one way or the other, but...
Believe it or not, I never asked her about it. I never talked about it. I didn't talk about any of the obvious things that you could talk about. And I think a lot of people in my position might. But in speaking to a lot of very brilliant people and people that do this for a living, they say it's better not to talk. So I talked to her about life. I talked to her about the fact, would you like to do this? Are you willing to do this? Because it's a tremendous burden. I think, depending on what happens with Roe v. Wade, I think that perhaps it could get sent down to the states, and the states would decide.
Okay, I know my viewership is very well educated, and you guys, if you have any questions about you needing any clarification on this shit, feel free to drop it in the comment section down below. I'm very, very engaged with everybody who wants to engage in any kind of discourse. But what would happen if Roe v. Wade got overturned? If, oh my god, the sky starts falling and I can't get the fucking, you know, last night's mistake hoovered out of my crotch. So what would actually happen? Roe v. Wade makes it so that there is an abortion center in every state across the union, and abortions are federally protected. It was a massive overreach in what a judge could rule on, but whatever, it's been upheld since, 73. And if it did, in fact, get overturned, guess what? States' rights. It would be just a states' right issue. So you could still get your abortion. If you lived in fucking Missouri and they didn't want to allow it, guess what? You could probably just go to a state that's within 2 hours away, and you could, fucking take a flight down the stairs or heat up the old coat hanger. And without being so colorful, that's what this article details. It's it would just become another states' right issue because guess what? The Constitution tends to be a fairly prescient piece of work that vehemently details whenever something isn't federally regulated, it is dealt with at, you guessed it, the state level. And now we throw to the portion where President Trump throws on his Timbs and starts clonking around and trumpeting how well he does for the African American community. And he lays out quite a good argument in the answer to what would happen if he's reelected for a second term, what would happen to the African American community should there be any concerns.
And some people don't like it when I say it, but a lot of people agree. I have done more for the African-American community than any president, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln. Criminal justice reform, prison reform, historically black colleges and universities. I got them funded. They were on a year-to-year basis. They could have been put out of business. As soon as our country had a little bad year, they would have said, I'm sorry, we're not going to fund you. I got them 10-year funding and financing, and more than they even asked for. I became very friendly with a lot of the heads. But we've done more, and of course, opportunity zones. But criminal justice reform, everybody said it could not be done. President Obama and Biden never even tried to do it. They never even tried. But I say that, and I say it often, I'll say it loud, and I'm very proud of it. And I have a great relationship because of what I've done with the African American community. I'm very proud of it.
I don't know about you guys. I can't even say probably true at this point because I've done a fair amount of research on it, and you guys have seen the fruits of that research on all my videos regarding it. It always just kind of makes me cringe a little bit. I've done more for the African American community. Probably, maybe, you could kind of contest it since Abraham Lincoln. It just always, I don't know, hits a little bit different. But yeah, guess what? It wouldn't be a DKS article or video without the receipts. Historic U.S. job market continues as African American unemployment rate hits new low. Straight from the whitehouse.gov website. Yep, lower than under the first half black president. So, and many other metrics which Trump mentioned too, and GDP, workforce engagement, all of those levels were up under his presidency prior to the pandemic, and now that we're in the recovery section of it, yeah, things are going back to his normal, not the old normal, which would have been terrible for everybody, because apparently it was just boomers getting out of the workforce, and we'd never see that level of engagement again. But yeah, what happens when you start cutting taxes and making money more available to people? Yeah, they tend to want to, engage in the fucking wealth creating process. Yeah, weird concept to Democrats. They're just rather, much more concerned about screaming from their ivory tower. Then of course we have the meme of the evening here, where I left the part of the question in, but it's about Dreamers and DACA itself. And I'll just let this old biddy run.
Good evening, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
I have to say, you have a great smile.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, he does. You're so handsome when you smile. Okay. Do you expect to pursue your previous efforts to cut the DACA program?
Yeah.
Why or why not?
And the DACA is somewhat different than Dreamers. You understand that, and you understand it better than anybody probably in this room. We want people to come into our country. They have to come in legally, but we are working very hard on the DACA program, and you will be, I think, very happy over the course of the next year.
Thank you.
Because I feel the same way as you do about it. We got rid of catch and release, which is a disaster. You catch somebody, they could be a murderer, they could be a rapist, and we're supposed to release them into our country. These are the laws that I inherited. We ended that program.
Dude, how can you argue with that shit? I'm not talking about his smile. I could really care less what a man looks like. But yeah, the border wall, I cut the clip out for just to kind of compress it a little bit, but 400 more miles of border wall, which, instead of having a big, beautiful concrete wall, we're going to make Mexico pay for it. He consulted with the experts on the issue and decided that, bullard fencing, because we need to be able to see through the wall to see who's actually coming across the border. Yeah, that would be more important than just having a fucking 45-foot wall with razor wire on top. No, we can still have the razor wire on top, but we're going to be able to need to see who the fuck's going there. So double-layered fencing in places, bullard fencing, razor wire where it's necessary, and you know, there's things like water and traps in there too, and that kind of helps you. Putting a wall over top of that doesn't really stop, you know, them crafty Mexicans from swimming underneath of it. But yeah, perfect. Fucking keep doing that, and that's what he's been doing too. And legal, skilled immigration, that's what Stephen Harper up in Canada was all about, and I'm definitely about, and I'm sure you guys are too out there. And yeah, getting rid of catch and release, because there was, I couldn't find the story for it, but one of the deaths during the lockdowns in the long-term nursing facilities, especially in Michigan, and that's where this story was. Yeah, convict was let out into a nursing home and beat somebody to death. Caught, released, returned out into public. And a bunch of the peaceful protesters out in Portland were also caught doing something and then released back into society. And I forget who did something exceptionally heinous, who was caught within weeks or days before and then went on to commit one of the more high-profile crimes. But catch and release is fucking stupid. You do something wrong, you should have to pay the price for it. But I don't know, that seems common sense, but hey, maybe I'm wrong on that one. And that brings us to the last clip in the video here, and it was, I didn't address what the tone and tenor of the entire evening was like. And, you know, you seen everybody with their masks, and the three women behind Trump had massive tits and were in tight white tops. I don't know if he planned that, or if NBC wanted to paint him as a bit of a misogynist, or you can do that right now because I don't care. But it was distracting. And then, of course, there was the black lady who was over his left shoulder, your stage right, who was constantly nodding, and in the clip here, she gets really excited about the closing remarks from President Trump. But the tone and tenor of everything, it was very high energy. You remember the Joe Biden town hall that we broke down yesterday? It was very, yeah, man, we're gonna do the fixing, and it was typical low energy Joe. Whereas tonight, everything was very quick, precise, and there was not a lot of dead air. It was just President Trump having to fight off the fucking woman with the old wham pantsuit and taking high energy questions from a bunch of exuberant people. That's kind of why I left in, you have such a nice smile. You remind me of my grandkids. Surprised she wasn't shaking her charm bracelet at the same time. What a stark contrast. And you'll see here right at the end, the fucker gets a standing ovation from a bunch of Republicans, Democrats, and undecided voters. So I'll let the clip play because I think it's great.
30 seconds. What would you say to them?
Because I've done a great job. We had the strongest economy in the world. We closed it up. We are coming around the corner. The vaccines are coming out soon, and our economy is strong. We are at a level with jobs like we've never been before. We've rebuilt our military. We've rebuilt our borders. We had no borders. We had no nothing. We've rebuilt so much. We've given you the greatest tax cut in the history of our country, greatest regulation cut, equally as important. And we created new levels of jobs that nobody thought was possible. And next year is going to be better than ever before.
I got to leave it there. I got a wrap from the control room. Mr. President, thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to the voters' questions. That concludes our town hall.
It's really tough to argue with any of the points that he just made there. Yeah, shit was doing great, and they actually have a plan. It's not just, orange man's bad and our plan's better. What's your plan? Don't be a racist and question me. Yeah, we got it. The Democrats don't really have too much of a plan, and if they do, it's a cut and paste Republican fucking mandate, which started under Clinton and has just kind of morphed into what we have today with all the big banks and all of the corporate establishment supporting the Democrats, and on the other side is the fucking punk rock legend and everybody who's tired of being lied to supporting President Trump on the other side. And I really enjoyed breaking down this town hall. I didn't enjoy watching it the first time because I wanted to choke Savannah Guthrie, but I think she might like that a little bit too much. So I'm looking forward to the potential of there possibly being a third debate. Like I've stated before, I don't think it's necessarily going to happen, but I guess we're going to have to wait and see. Nothing's been canceled yet, and it's coming up in a few days. And oh boy, Joe Biden's going to have to answer for the sins of his son. And if anything else that comes out here as of late, he might have to answer for the sins of himself. And it's going to be a fucking bloodbath, my dudes. and I can't wait for it, and I hope you can't either. And I really hope you appreciated this, because a lot of work went into this one, and I really like it. I really, really, really like this, and I love the direction of this channel. And thank you all for subscribing lately. I don't know where you're coming in from, but I hope you fucking love it, because I love doing this shit. And I thank you all for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo, and I hope you guys follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.